Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my able co-host, Rhonda, will be on the show in a few minutes. So welcome you to the show. If this is your first time seeing the show, welcome. And we have some exciting things coming up, especially with the National Black Book Festival, which is going to be October 23rd through 25th. If you follow us on Facebook, we have been posting a couple of things. One, videos of the winners of the Black Authors Matter TV Awards for this year. We posted a video for each winner in each category. And also, we're starting to post individual flyers for each registered author. So you'll be able to see all of the authors that will be attending, and it gives a little bit about them. It gives their website and the category that they're going to be in at the festival. So you'll be able to see them and find them when you get to the event. If you are trying or planning to be a participating author, we're at 85% on our registrations. So if you are planning to attend, I would suggest that you sign up as soon as possible. So we do expect to sell out in early July. And my able co-host is on now, and we're going to be bringing on our first guest in a few seconds. So Rhonda, are you ready? You're still muted on the mic. And yeah, and so she and I have both been busy. I know I went to Austin this weekend to the Lone Star Festival, and
I'm sure that was amazing.
Well, the amazing part was that, 5 of my closest friends that I travel places with were there. That was the best part. And all of them.
Yes.
Mary, Pam, Brenda, Shalita, and who am I missing? Oh, Rhonda, the other Rhonda.
Yes.
So we were there, and we did a panel on how to maximize your success at book festivals.
Awesome.
So that was good. But the organizer didn't really advertise it that much. It just didn't appear. So yeah, and I think this is what I think with the Lone Star Festival. The Texas Book Festival is so big and massive and successful in November. That's the one we're going to be at. You and I are going to be at.
Yes.
And the other 5 people too. That I don't know if anybody else can really do something book related in Austin that's going to be as big, or even that will draw a lot of people, because people will wait until the big one in November.
Right. And they're both in Austin? Well, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're both in Austin. Okay. So, yeah. But then you and I are going to be in Atlanta soon in August at the National Book Club Conference. So I'm looking forward
to that.
Me too. This will be my first time. So we're going to bring our guest on, our first guest. She has been on the show before. She was on with her first book, her first installment of her series. And I'm not sure if she has more than 2, but she'll let us know. Okay, she's shaking her head. Okay. So welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV, Rosey Lee.
Thank you so much for having me. I have been looking forward to this.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I may have answered that question wrong. Only 2 out now, but planning 2 more. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Is it, are there some coming? Are there some in the
Yeah, yes,
pipeline?
yes. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
Okay. So her first book was The Gardens of Eden,
Right. Oops.
which is a play on words. And it's a great title because
Yeah.
it's
It's a
memorable.
pretty cover too.
It
You.
is.
I worked hard for that cover.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you wanted to reflect like a garden.
Yes, I love
Okay.
flowers, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I
No,
see our wall behind
I
you.
would have never guessed that
You would have
at
never
all.
guessed it. Yeah.
Just any kind of flower. Any, what's your favorite flower?
Ooh, it's hard to pick. I love lilies. I love ranunculus. I love lots of them. Don't get me started naming them. Yeah. I love
Okay.
certain types of roses.
Okay.
I like roses in general, but I can be a little picky. But
Now, do you just basically like the standard red rose, or do you like one of the other
no,
colors?
I love
What's the yellow?
colors. I
The
mean, I'm
yellow
not
rose.
mad about red roses, but
Okay.
yeah, they're
Well,
not.
I saw a blue rose one time that was absolutely gorgeous. And then the florist I used to go to when I was living in Europe had a blue and white rose. And that was the most beautiful rose I had ever seen.
Really. I've
And do
not
they paint
seen
them
you in
that color,
person.
or are they like doing some kind of cross pollination or whatever
I'm
you do
sure
with
it was
paint?
some type of a cross pollination or some type of a dye thing, but it
Mhm.
was just really pretty the way the white kind of the white and blue just it was like a gradient, just the
Mm.
way they blended into each other, and they were beautiful. I bought a bouquet of them and gave them as a gift because I just thought that they were that pretty.
Oh, that's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love gifting flowers, so you
Yes.
totally got me there.
Oh, okay. So and probably receiving. People know what to give you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they don't have to really think that hard.
They
Because
don't.
some people are hard to buy for, but
Mhm.
not Rosie. And you have an appropriate name. Is that your real name?
It's my pen name, but it was chosen for, it's
Okay.
actually chosen to honor the women in my family. There are lots of women named Rose in my family.
Okay.
Nice.
So it's intentional. But I will tell you that my name that my mother gave me means something about a flower. I won't say too much more, but it's all
Oh,
connected. Yeah, it's all connected.
Okay, because until now, I never even thought that that was a pen name.
Oh, really? Well,
So,
that's good because it's the brand is Brandon. I love it.
yeah, it is. I thought it was your real name. So, tell us a little bit for the audience who didn't see the previous interview.
Mhm.
Tell us about the first book, and then tell us about the sequel.
Sure. Thank you. So, The Gardens of Eden is about the four women of the Garden family who live in the fictional town of Eden, Georgia. And so their family owns a multi-million dollar peanut empire, and their family's at a bit of a crossroads because there are four women in the family: Ruth, Naomi, Mary, and Martha. Ruth has married two men
what?
in the family. One
I'm sorry.
died.
I just have to interrupt
I
because
know,
I
I
love
know,
the names.
Oh, thank you.
and they're all
Yes,
biblical, of
Mhm.
course.
yes, they're all biblical
Mm.
names, and I'm quite sure you were very intentional about that.
Yes. So
Okay.
the characters in my story are loosely inspired by women of the Bible. So they have the personality traits of the women. So I just always wondered what happened after the stories told in the Bible. And so
Mhm.
I
Okay.
made up an answer. It is not doctrinally sound. I took two women from the Old Testament, put them in the same family with two women from the New Testament. Because I write stories about messy families. And so I always wondered, if set in present day, if Ruth had married one man and then he passed away and then she married his wealthy cousin, how would the other people in the family feel about it in present day? Back then, that was absolutely expected. But in present day, if this family had money, some folks might have some feelings about Ruth. And so that's
Yes.
exactly the case. So the Martha character, she is a physician. She's all about doing the good work, but she's also a bit of a social climber. And she just has it out for Ruth. She's really the troublemaker of the family. And she's like, okay, Ruth, I'm sorry that my cousin Bo has died. So sorry you've now lost two men who you were madly in love with, but we've had enough of you in this family. Okay, goodbye.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
yeah, so the family's at a bit of a crossroads because they're trying to figure out what are we going to do. And so, of course, Naomi is the matriarch of the family, and she's tired of always having to hold the family together. So she's like, you know what? Y'all are going to figure it out. But of course, she still puts pressure on everybody to figure out and make it
Mhm.
work. Mary is Martha's sister, and she's just tired of being pulled into the drama. She just wants to mind her business because she's just opened a restaurant that serves healthy comfort food. So she literally wants to mind her business, her restaurant business.
I
But Martha
absolutely
keeps
can
pulling her
picture
into the
all of
drama.
these.
Oh, you can picture them? I love
Yeah,
that.
I can
I
picture
love that.
all of them. And you did very well matching their personalities up with the characters in the Bible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I describe it as a messy family drama with a heartwarming ending. It's like Bravo
Yeah.
meets Hallmark. And
Oh,
so, yeah,
okay.
so as we go through the book without giving you any spoilers, because a Rosie Lee story will have a happy ending, I can tell you that, the family's going to stay together. And most of the women, essentially all except Martha, have the growth that they need to achieve. Martha does just enough to get by. And so, true to her character, she demanded her own book because Martha wants to be a star. She wants to be just the popular person. So, Martha gets her own book, and that is the cover that you see here, A Garden Wedding. And so
Okay.
in this book, Martha, our troublemaker, gets a taste of her own medicine because some people, that's just what they need. So
Mm.
the Martha character I conceived of because I'm intrigued by our having people in our lives, whether they're family members or friends, who just kind of wreak havoc and are never held accountable. And so
Mhm.
just kind of dealing with that. So this family deals with that. They make it through, but then we have to deal with Martha. So she gets her own book, and that's A Garden Wedding.
Okay.
This sounds like a really fun book.
Mhm.
It's and it sounds like life. Sometimes people just write books with drama on top of drama on top of drama just for the sake of having drama. But this just sounds like life.
That's what I think about it. I just kind of just, we all collect experiences, and we know as writers, one thing that we do when we write is whether we mean to or not, we're processing our experiences. So
Yes.
I can't say that I and my family members are exactly anyone in the book, but I can say that I am inspired by all the things that I've seen and gone through myself. And so this book is about someone just needing to get a taste of their own medicine. But how did they come through? It's about Martha's journey. But we also, if you enjoy seeing a villain get what they, I don't want to call Martha a villain. I
Their
should,
comeuppance.
but they're comeuppance. Yeah, and I have to, I can say she's a troublemaker, but I shouldn't call her a villain because there are Marthas of the world, and we love the Marthas who are of the world. I
And
joke.
Marthas of the world are the ones who hold it down. They're trying to keep everything
That's
together.
true.
They're they
That's
they
true.
see the importance of behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, but because they're always the ones holding it together, they start to resent the people who aren't helping them hold it together.
That can be true. That can absolutely be true. Hmm.
So is the wedding the beginning? Does the book start with the wedding or does it end with the wedding?
Why does it have to be one or the other? I don't
Oh,
understand.
Well, okay, is it one or the other?
No,
maybe the wedding's in the middle.
no.
It's got to be somewhere. Or
Well,
you
what
saying it was okay, so the wedding may not even take place. Is that what you're saying?
So it's funny that you would say that because I always joke. So my sister, who I love dearly, she's always one of my first readers because she, just helps me. We all need somebody who can tell us if we're going astray. And I had talked to my sister about this story. And again, we know a Rosie Lee story is gonna have a happy ending. And y'all, there's a bride and groom on the cover. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but there is a happy ending. So my sister
okay.
got, I'll just say, very far in the book, and she said, "You mean to tell me we're not gonna have a wedding?" And I said, "Now, didn't we talk about this? Just keep reading." And
Okay,
that's,
so it's not at the beginning. That answers that
I
question.
didn't say it wasn't at the
Yeah, she said you said she got halfway through the book and said there's not a wedding, which means it's not at the beginning. I
Okay.
listened to the word.
It could be. Wait, no. There
Okay.
could be a wedding at the beginning. It doesn't mean that there was a marriage at the
Mm.
beginning.
I
Okay,
love talking to
or
writers.
they could be at somebody else's wedding.
So many possibilities. So many possibilities.
But that's the thing about writing. That's the thing about making up stories. They're made up. So you could, do whatever you.
Y'all just wait till I have time to write my book. I'm just going to.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. In fact, speaking of weddings, my daughter's getting married on Saturday.
Oh, really?
That, you know what she said yesterday? She said, you know what? We should have eloped.
Oh,
Well,
but it's going to be so beautiful. It's so much fun.
I was talking with a coworker yesterday, and she said that she eloped. And she said they saved so much money. They didn't have to worry about feeding people they didn't really like.
And stress. And then, there's a lot of moving parts to a wedding. And if you've never planned one, which I didn't, and I thought about what made me think about my experience with my parents with my wedding, which my first wedding, I didn't even stay married but 4 years, and that was 4 years too long.
Ooh.
But I called my parents and told them, I think I called them in June, told them I was getting married. I gave them the date in October, and I expected them to pay for it. That's really, just thinking back on how inconsiderate I was. I really kind of dumped it on them. They came through. I wasn't that young. I mean, I was old enough, but you get really self-centered when you're thinking about your wedding. So no, and my dad was a pastor, so I knew I didn't have to worry about the place. The church was taken care of, and the wedding planner the church had one, so I knew some things were taken care of already. But they still, had to come out of pocket. But I just didn't even think about that much. That's just and now my daughter and her fiance are they pay for the bulk of the wedding. But there's just so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And they have a big wedding party.
Oh. So are you having fun?
Well, I'm having more fun. Well, let me take that back. I compartmentalize very well.
Okay.
So that's why I'm able to do this show. I'm able to do the, write books, do marketing for people. We have an award show. We have an children's award. I'm able to compartmentalize. So I compartmentalize the wedding plans that I have to do along with the other things. So, but it's not stressing me out. It's just, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. He's a very nice guy. And he loves her, which is important. That's the most important thing.
It is the most important thing.
The most important. If you don't marry a man that loves you, you're nuts. I mean, if the person you marry doesn't love you, you're going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because if men don't love you, they act like they don't love you.
Men don't. I don't think men grow to love. Women grow to love.
No, they gotta love you right up front. Really, before you love them, is better.
Well, my
what do you think?
She said, "Love the fella who loves you."
Yes, that's very important.
I'm thinking about Martha and OG, and their story is very, very interesting.
Okay, so now is your book more about the women than the men?
Oh, it's always about the women.
Okay,
it's always about the men. I mean, always about the women, but we need some men in there too. So so OG, that's Martha's boyfriend. He was important, but the story's about Martha and how she grows. But he's a great compliment to her. He's a great compliment to her. But they're a very interesting couple.
So does he give her balance?
More than she thought.
Okay. Now, what age range are the sisters?
Martha and Mary are in their late 30s, so 34, 36,
Okay.
that age group.
Okay. And then Ruth and Naomi are.
Ruth's in her 50s, Naomi's in her 70s.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I
Okay.
thought they were sisters.
Nope, Ruth and Naomi are mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So Naomi's the mother-in-law, and Ruth is her daughter-in-law. So Ruth was married to Naomi's son, and then he passed away, and then she married Naomi's cousin.
Okay, I was thinking it was four sisters. So I was okay. Okay. So Mary and Martha are the sisters.
Mary and Martha are the sisters, and they are Naomi's nieces.
Okay.
So their parents passed away, and Naomi raised them from teenagers.
Okay. Now the setting you said was in Georgia,
Edin, Georgia.
In a made-up town, Edin. Okay, Edin, Georgia.
Because there is actually a real town called Edin, Georgia, but it's spelled the traditional way, Eden. Okay. And so since my town of Edin, Georgia was founded by the Gardin family's previously enslaved ancestors and other people who were previously enslaved, I did not think it was a good idea to rewrite the history of a town that actually exists. So
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I was going to ask you, what are the challenges? Because I've noticed there are quite a few authors who will make a fictional town, but what are the challenges of creating an entirely new town?
So for me, I think the biggest challenge was hoping that the people in the existing town didn't get upset with me. And so that's why I changed the spelling. But I envisioned this town of Edin, Georgia, because I wondered, what if towns that were founded by previously enslaved people had been allowed to thrive? You know, the Rosewoods, the Roberts Settlement, Eatonville, Florida, etc. If those towns had been allowed to thrive, where would those people's descendants be today? And so that's what I envision as present day Edin. So their town is thriving, and the Gardin family is certainly very, very, very much thriving. And so it was fun and fairly easy to me because I could just think about all the good things that I loved about those towns when they were doing well and just kind of let my imagination go.
Nice.
It was something that the peanut part. Now was that related to the fact that President Carter had a peanut farm? I don't know if you knew about that, but
I did, yeah. Well, just because, Georgia's, I think, the fourth largest producer of peanuts in the world. I think it's fourth. Forgive me that I forgot. I think so. I wrote The Gardens of Edin in 2020, so I need to brush up on my facts, but it is in the book. Ruth makes a little speech about it, and so she talks about it. But yeah, just because peanuts are such a big staple that Georgia produces, I thought it seemed appropriate to make them peanut farm.
Oh yeah, because boiled peanuts are the thing in Georgia.
They are a big thing here. That's right.
And you're in Georgia.
You ever had a boiled peanut, Gwen?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I've had peanuts in the shell, but I don't know if I've had boiled ones.
Boiled peanuts, they're different.
Okay. No, I don't think so. Peanuts aren't my thing. I prefer cashews or almonds or pecans or even Brazil nuts or pistachios.
Well, I grew up with pecans because I'm from New Orleans, so pecans and pralines are a big thing for us. So yeah.
Rhonda's from New Orleans.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm from the West Bank.
Okay, I'm from the Lower Nine.
Okay, very good.
Okay. At the end of this month for a family reunion.
Well, I just got back 2 days ago.
Oh,
so we're gonna have to make our paths cross and meet up. I had no idea.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, have a great time when you go back for the family reunion. The humidity was whoo.
I can imagine.
Yes, but I love being home. So we worked through it. We pressed through.
Yes.
Yeah, you get used to it. Like we have a lot of humidity in Houston.
Yes, you do.
So we just stay in air conditioning.
Yeah.
and when you go out in the evening, you need to have your arms covered or something because you're going to get mosquito. And they can bite through clothes.
They do.
Sometimes that really is just very very disconcerting.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Y'all are so much fun.
you said you had 2 more books
Yes.
that you're working on now. Are these part of the same storyline?
They are. They are. So I originally thought that the Gardens of Eden would be a standalone. But as I wrote the first book, I knew that I would need to do a second book. And then I thought, okay, a third book seems appropriate. And I plan to stop there. But just, talking to people as they have met the characters, they've asked questions, and some people have made some strong requests, not quite demands, but strong requests. And so because of that, I've got I think a good idea for book 4. So I'm excited about that.
I love
Okay.
when people really like a book and that book really resonates with the people. They do inspire series, and I don't know if readers realize how much they inspire a series.
I think we should tell them more. And I certainly am, because I really was planning to stop at 3. I was very serious about it. And really, at one point, wasn't quite sure if I would have enough of a plot for book 3. But again, sometimes as you just kind of sit with the characters and hear from your readers, things come together. And what happened is that as I wrote book 2, the path for book 3 became clear. So,
Okay.
and I'm learning that I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to happen with me for every book, but I'm learning that's just a part of my writerly path. I will have an idea for a book, but as if it's going to follow another one, as I make my way through writing that one, I usually get ideas for the next one. That's what happened with both The Gardens of Eden and A Garden Wedding. So,
and sometimes some characters stick with you a little bit more than others do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I'm excited.
Okay, so
we'll see. I don't have deals for books 3 and 4 yet, so everybody has to buy books 1 and 2 first. So
okay, well, you
we'll
got me, girl. I got your books. I got
okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had ordered the first book. I hadn't had a chance to read it yet, but I have ordered it. My
thank you.
my to be read shelves. In fact, my daughter, when she officially moves out, I'm turning her room into, I'm putting books in there because I have books everywhere, and I need somewhere to put the bulk of the books. She's always welcome to come. We have a guest room, so they're always welcome to come back. So, but I'm going, and we have an office, a study too. So she used to work in there when she was working from home. So I have 2 extra rooms. So
I love that.
Yeah.
And if she's a reader, she needs a garden wedding for her honeymoon.
Okay, well, I don't think she's gonna be reading on her honeymoon, but
you never know.
Okay.
I don't think so, but
I didn't think she had to read the whole honeymoon, but we gotta take a break at some point.
Gwen said if she's reading on her honeymoon, something must be wrong.
I cannot with y'all.
Yeah, no, that's not a good sign. So anyway, you've given us some food for thought, and you've opened some cans of worms that probably should have stayed closed. But
I'm gonna leave that between you and your daughter. So when you look down at your phone and you have a missed call and lots of text messages, that's gonna be between
there
the
are
two
some
of y'all.
Conversations we just don't want to have.
Yeah. So Rosey, tell us one more time. Show us the first book 1.
Yes, here is book 1.
Which is The Gardens of Eden.
Yes.
And it's a play on words, but it's about the gardens, the garden family, and then A Garden Wedding. And that's also a play on words.
It is.
Because with the garden with an I, you can do, several different things with that.
Yes.
You can play with it some more. And it's always flowers, because
always lots of flowers.
You love flowers.
Yeah.
So anyway, available wherever books are sold. And
that's right.
Congratulations on book 2. We'll be
Thank you.
Look out for book 3.
Yes, and there's a fantastic audiobook that's narrated by Bonnie Turpin. People love it. So all of our audiobook lovers should definitely check it out.
Okay, that would be me, because I'm an audiobook girl.
There you go.
Yes. Okay, you have a great evening, Rosey. Thanks for
Thank
being
y'all
back on the
so
show.
much. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Yeah, we got that wedding coming up Saturday. So
And I gotta let you know, Gwen, I know this is a different view than how you're normally used to seeing me, but um I'm having I had to take my computer cord to work today and I left it at work, so I can't plug my computer in. So
oh, so
I
this is
have
your
to do the
phone.
show.
This is your phone
Yeah, I have
view.
to do the show from my phone.
Well, I've done it before, and so I get it. Wherever, that's the beauty of the show. You
Yeah.
can tune in. You know, that time I tuned in from the car when the power was off and we had the
I remember that. You were sitting in the car.
So you know, we didn't have power for several days. It was pitch black in my subdivision too. I think we had like two people that had those generators, and you could hear them, but everything else. And you know, when when the lights are off and the power's off, it's very quiet.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, there's no hum. You know, the hum that power
And
generates.
you don't realize how quiet your
Right.
house is until
You
the
don't.
power goes out.
Right. And when the whole neighborhood, it was eerie.
Yeah, I can
Eerily
believe that.
quiet. Yeah. So we're gonna bring on our next guest, and he has a lot of he's a historical fiction writer, but he also has some other accolades that he has under his belt or whatever, including being an ordained minister, Baptist minister.
Wow, okay.
He's an Air Force veteran, Rhonda. Uh, another military veteran, and he's a retired public school educator and an owner of Mincy Publishing, the LLC. So
It sounds like he's a multi-hyphenate, as they call it.
yes, multi-talented. Lots of things happen to you in your career, and you are you new to doing historical fiction or novels? Is this a new, like your next venture? And oh, let me
Right.
say, this is AJ Sam that we're welcoming to the show.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, but thank you very much. I'm honored. I really am. And first, if I could just say one thing, because um, I want to say how much I appreciate the service to our race that you two do. In preparing for this interview, I've watched 8 to 10 of your shows, 16 to 20 hours of it. I was trying to
Wow.
get a feel for the interview format and what people were saying, what questions you were asking, but I got humbled. I really did. I got humbled at being part of this glorious endeavor that you're doing, and you're documenting the story of us in a way that can't be whitewashed. And so I just wanted to thank both of you for that.
Well,
Oh, well,
I'm
thank
glad to
you for
say
watching
that
those
I'm glad.
hours of the show.
Yeah, and no,
They
I'm
were
glad
very
that you
enlightening.
said that because this show is very intentional about highlighting Black authors. And it's not saying that we have not had non-Black authors on the show before, but as Gwen says, if we have a non-Black author on the show, it's because they're highlighting Black people and Black culture in such a way that it deserves a platform. But this show is for Black authors and by Black authors, and it's something that we take pride in. So I'm very glad that you recognized that when you were
Yes,
watching the show.
yes, I did. I did.
People are spending all their time watching. One thing we try to do is make every guest feel special and individual, and we have a
Yeah.
conversation with our guests.
I
So
know.
sometimes people will ask us in advance, like they'll send the email, "Can I have the questions in advance?" And I tell them we never have questions in advance.
Yeah, we don't have questions in
We
advance.
don't.
This is a conversation. We vibe for 30 minutes. That's what we
Yeah.
do.
Yes, and I was one of those people who asked you, could I have the questions in advance? So, yes, I did.
I didn't realize that because people often do it. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
connect it with you necessarily at all. But it's, and I tell people there's no pressure because
Right.
it's a conversation.
Yes, yes, it
So
is. And I'm as a former teacher, teaching in front of fifth graders, as a preacher of the word of God. I speak in front of people all the time, but this is different. But I'm excited. So
We're
okay.
very excited to have you.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, now you spent some time in the Air Force as a
Right.
veteran.
Uh-huh.
How long were
Yes.
you in the Air Force?
I was there in the Air Force for 4 years, 6 months, and 29 days.
Okay.
40 years?
Did you say
Four,
four?
four
Oh,
years, four
okay.
years,
Oh, I thought
four
you said
years, 6
40.
months, and 29 days.
Oh, well, see, I was in the Army for 23 years.
Wow. I couldn't last past the 4 years.
At the
No,
4 years, you were counting the day when you give a
I
day
was counting
count.
the day
That
exactly.
means
I was counting it.
Yeah,
Not
you
only
can
was
tell he was
not only
counting the
was I
days.
counting the days, but I think my commanding officer was counting the days. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I got a lot of positive from it. I got structure, I got self-discipline. So there was a lot of it, but there was a lot of stuff that had to be chipped off of me, let's say. And I got out before I got in trouble. So
There
I'm
you
glad.
go.
I'm glad at the time. I spent time in Japan. I spent time in my first base was in Las Vegas, at Nellis, and so two very eventful places that I would have never went on my own. But Vegas, I would have made it there, but not Japan. So I was able to travel.
okay. Yeah, a lot of people say that about being in the service, and Rhonda has been all over. She's been
Hmm.
all over,
Yeah, I
and
know.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
last my last duty station was Belgium, actually.
Uh-huh. Didn't you go down to see an author that was somewhere south of Belgium?
Oh yeah, you're talking like last week. We were
Victoria
talking
last week.
about how
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
stationed in Belgium and I
Uh-huh.
drove to Germany to see
The
Victoria
Germany.
Christopher Murray.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure when because I've seen so many of your videos, so I wasn't sure which one, but I did remember that.
Yeah, that was in Germany. I was living in Belgium, and I think she contacted me on social media, or she mentioned on social media that she would be going to Germany. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, that's only 3 hours away. So I drove over to Germany so I could support her doing her speaking engagement.
Right, right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you really were watching.
I was really watching. I was
Yeah, well, he
watching. I
said
was.
16 hours or something like that. Or how many he said? That's a lot of episodes. But we've done over 200 shows.
Wow.
We've interviewed over 750 people. And we will celebrate our fifth anniversary next month.
Okay. Well, you have gotten a committed regular viewer from now on. I
Okay.
mean,
Well,
no, I love the format and I've learned so much. I've learned so much, and you got different people from different genres, but they all have something to add to me as a historical fiction writer. So I'm just loving it.
okay,
Love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, everybody has a different story,
Yes,
even if it's fiction,
yes.
you know, and they have a different story to tell about themselves, about their journey. Nobody has the same story. So,
Hmm.
all of us are individuals, and so we all have started at different places and followed different paths and ended up different places and
Yeah.
and going different places. So, um, you write historical fiction. Now, what got you on that path?
Uh, well, I was in the engineering and computer field. I got out of the Air Force, worked there for 10, 15 years and uh, started strengthening my faith back in God. And he led me to go back to school to become a teacher. So I went to the USF campus, Tampa USF campus, University of South Florida campus, and joined a group of men who were going there to make a difference in classrooms.
Hmm.
And one of our classes, our reading instruction class, the professor assigned us to write a story to take us through the process of writing so that when we taught our children how to write, we could go back on our experiences. So, like I was prone to do, I got up early one day by 7 o'clock, got to a computer and jotted down a story, probably 3 pages, 30 minutes, and I had it ready for an 8:30 a.m. class. Handed it in. A couple of days later, I got it back. I got an A. I was happy. But but the class, well, the teacher, the professor was looking at me and I'm like, okay, what's up? And she said, did you write the story? And first I said, was she trying to accuse me of cheating? But then her body language was saying no. And I said, yeah. And she said, it's incredible. And she read it to the class.
Oh, okay.
And the class was silent. And I'm looking like, I thought it was an A paper, but I didn't expect all of this. And so she kind of counseled me. She said, this is the kind of story people are, people will be interested in hearing about. And it was a short story. African American slave was rescued by Harriet Tubman on the road for 3 days, and they make it up north. That was my 3-page, 300-word story.
Oh, you said all that in 300 words. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was quick. I was telling a lot. I wasn't showing much. I was telling a lot. Like somebody was talking about the novellas. Um, so fast forward about 7 years later, I'm now a full-fledged teacher and working in Pinellas County, Florida, St. Petersburg, which is where I'm from originally. And the school board had this magazine they printed out every year, and they invited teachers to submit articles to be published. I submitted them 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, they accepted my article. And I'm like, wow, wait a minute, this is pretty good. But the clincher was about a month after my third submission, I got an email from the Department of Reading and Instruction. And she asked me to would I consider teaching at a summer camp of,
Nice.
of, of high functioning writers, fifth, sixth grade writers. And it was sponsored by this company called the Pointer Institute, which is the parent
Yeah.
company of
The Pointer Institute is huge.
Hmm?
I said the Pointer Institute is huge. They're all about writing. They're like the guru when it comes to writing.
And they're the parent company of the St. Petersburg Times newspaper.
Wow.
So I did a couple of years there, again, still writing, still getting accolades from people that I respect as writers. And I said, you know what? I may be able to get me a couple of dollars here part-time doing this. So this is 7 years later. So I picked back up my story and I started working on it. Started feverishly working on it. And about 4 years later, I thought it was ready for publication. I laugh now because it was nowhere near ready for publication.
I knew that's where you were going with it when you
thought
said
it was
you
ready.
thought it was ready.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And but the thing about it was that the framework for the series was established. And so after several, I don't know, I think both of you've been writing long enough to remember the self-addressed stamped envelopes
Yeah.
that you sent to publishers, and you had to
Yeah.
wait 6 weeks. And
Yeah.
then I got excited with emails, but that just make the rejection come faster. You know,
I never submitted my work
I'm
to a
serious.
publisher, but I
6 weeks.
used them
It's
for
like 2
others.
days and no
Yeah.
thanks. No
Well, at
no
least they
explanation.
answered. At least they said something. They
Right.
don't always say anything.
They don't always answer.
They don't always say
they just
anything.
say,
Yeah.
nothing. You don't hear anything.
Mhm.
So you
But
just figure it's a no.
I think my time with the Pointer Institute and working with that, I started going around to certain, like somebody have a writer's workshop, I'll go, because I realized that if I was going to have success, I needed to get better at my craft. And so I did that. And I mean, I'm looking at some magazines I used to get. I'm hesitant about advertising the magazine because I would like for them to come to me and pay me to advertise their magazine. So I won't say, but it was some national magazines that again had great articles that helped me as a writer, to help me on this journey. And so I kept going. I didn't stop. Um, Google Google became my best friend. I kid people. I said I remember Google when it was Giggle, and I was in the library so much trying to gather information, historical fiction writing. And Google cut my research time down so much that I still researched the same amount of time, but I was
Mm-hmm.
able to research so many more things.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where I am right now. Um, and it happened, like I said, the framework was established. I have now 3 books in a series I plan on writing. The first one was published March 2023. The second one, I tell people it's in the oven and I can smell the aroma of it baking. It's actually that close to being ready. I thought I was going to be on your show the end of June. I'm like, okay, yeah, it'll be ready by then, fresh. But you called me, I came, and so here I am.
So now, when is the book actually going to be out? Because I see it's going to be available June
Says June.
2025, which is this month.
Right, right, which is now. So yes, like
Right.
like I said, I've been cooking lately, and I remember I know now when the scent. I'm upstairs in our house, and when the scent arrives upstairs, the dinner is ready. So I'm
Right.
already smelling the scent. I'm thinking it will be published end of this month.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
okay.
tell us about the story.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
tell us the first one first, which is The Journey Far.
okay. Well, a journey for Ibire, and each one of these 4 stories have as a subtitle a Yoruba word or term. And I don't know, I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I researched the word Y O U Yoruba, and most people pronounce it Yoruba. But I remember an interview with Chadwick Boseman, and he pronounced it Yoruba. So I'm not quite sure which one. There's accents, there's
Right.
slangs, that kind of thing. So either way, but each one of my books has a Yoruba subtitle, and Abiri stands for beginnings, which is the first book. It chronicles the life of a young man, an African American man, from about 6 years old to about 18 years old. He's sold into slavery, taken away from his parents, sold into slavery, and he spends the first, I guess, the next 3, 4, 5 years in isolation in the big house. The master bought him as a friend, pet, plaything for his son. He eventually gets sent out of the big house into the fields with the other slaves. Gets introduced to the full brutality of slavery. Um, Ends up escaping with the help of Harriet Tubman. So then it comes back to that
Okay.
original kernel that I
Story that
started
you.
with. He
Mm-hmm.
ends up in 1859 New York City, and he gets the help of an abolitionist, Mrs. Howard, a French immigrant who helped. She's the abolitionist. She helps runaway slaves. And the story ends with the attack on Fort Sumter, South Carolina, by the Confederates. That's how A Journey Far ends.
Okay.
Hmm. Well, I want to ask you this. There are a number of slave stories that have been not just published but also filmed in the
Hmm.
last few years. And
Yeah.
for especially young people will say, well, we're tired of hearing slave stories and we want to hear other stories.
Hmm.
What do you tell them? Because this sounds like a beautiful story, but in essence, it is somewhat of a slave story. So what do you tell them
Hmm.
when you hear this type of pushback, especially from
Uh-huh.
younger people?
Younger people, and I agree. You probably get it. I do Facebook posts, and every now and then I get a post of somebody that says slavery is over, and I tend to answer them And I'll tell them things like, if you think slavery is over, you need to read more carefully.
Mm.
And that's all I'll say. I'm not going to argue anything like that. This story is American history. We talk a lot about, and you can see where Black History Matters 24/7, 365, but it's American history. It's our history, and it's not just the person being subjugated. It's about the whole, I don't know how to put it, the whole environment that supports it.
Right.
One of your authors, the young lady that did historical fiction from South Africa, and how entrenched apartheid and that government
Oh
was.
yes, yes.
Boy,
Yes.
that was powerful, and it just reminded me some things. Now, you're going to learn some different things, though. You're going to learn some slants because it's not your typical slavery story. James ends up being a college graduate, civil engineer. He learns about Abraham Lincoln. And again, this research that I did, I grew, and I think as authors, we can always say this, we grow through our books, especially
Yes.
historical fiction where we got to do the research, we got to flesh out the truth, and we got to figure out what's relevant, what's not relevant. And
Right.
so with this story, it is again, no doubt there's some harsh parts, but that was the United States in the 1850s. It was
That was
harsh.
life. Yeah.
It was
Well,
harsh with
and
African Americans.
for
Huh?
hundreds, well, for 200 years before that.
Well, yeah, for 20 years before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would tell them that, and I would tell them to be careful to look at the story, because there's things that I learned that I had no idea about. I mean, I really didn't. And I thought I knew. I mean, I wasn't a Civil War scholar, no, but I thought that what I would put in my book would be things that people would already know happened.
Right.
And I don't think they know some of the things I put in my book because I had to. I mean, I didn't believe it.
Well, I was talking about this last night. Is sometimes I think we have a little bit of imposter syndrome because we think just because we know it that everybody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we can trick ourselves into thinking that we don't have any new knowledge to add to the pool
Very,
of knowledge.
very, yes, yes. And this
And
new knowledge, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, by you sharing these stories, you're adding to that pool of knowledge. You're pouring into that pool of knowledge. And there might be somebody who reads your book who already knew this, but I bet you there are even more people who are going to be reading your book and they've never heard this information before, and it's going to inspire them to do their own research.
Mm-hmm. If I can, Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States, Lincoln Memorial. I sat down when I went to DC. I sat down at his feet. Freed the slave, assassinated. And my character, my protagonist, James, like I say, he's escaped. He's in New York. He's enthralled with Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and he's putting Abraham Lincoln on the same pedestal as them. And so I'm doing research. I want to stop doing all my tale and do more shows. I said, I need to find some document that's going to really pull this together. So I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put parts of Lincoln's inaugural address in my story. And that way, the people reading it would be energized. The abolitionists in the story would be cheering. James would be doing backflips. And so I believe the first one I went to was SmithsonianInstitution.org. Pulled up his inauguration speech from March 4th, 1861. And I read it, and I said, man, I must be more tired than I thought I am, because this isn't making any sense. I'm serious. I went to bed, I was teaching, so had a full day with my little darlings, full week with my darlings. So I get up that Saturday morning, the next day, got me a cup of coffee, and I start researching again. And I went to SmithsonianInstitute.com. I went to HistoryChannel.com. I went to the Library of Congress. I went to all these reputable websites, at least 8 of them, and they all said the same thing. I think I might have even went to Billy Bob and Josephus.org. I'm not sure. But I'm reading this. Yeah, I'm
Not
reading
Billy
this,
Bob and Josephus.
and I'm like, so if you don't mind, can I read Lincoln's the first, just the opening paragraph of it, and you'll see why the trajectory of my story took a big turn.
Well,
Okay.
you got 5 minutes.
You do.
5 minutes,
And is
okay,
this the
all right.
Gettysburg
Okay.
Address, or is this different?
Huh?
Is this the Gettysburg Address, or is
No,
this-
no, no,
no?
no.
Okay. Okay.
So he says, apprehension seems to exist among people in the southern states that by the accession of a Republican administration, their property and their peace and their personal security are to be endangered. And I said, property? That's what the southern people consider slaves.
Yes.
So President Abraham Lincoln, in his first address to the nation as president, said that he wasn't going to bother with their property. At the end, he says, I believe I have no lawful right to do so and have no inclination to do so. So this is the president that's on the penny, the $5 bill.
Mm-hmm.
There's streets all over America and Black communities that are named Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And so it changed the whole trajectory of my story, and it changed my protagonist's view of him. So the whole story changed. And that's what I mean about, about Lincoln and what he did, but this political journey that he had to go on makes him suspect. So
He started at one place and he ended up in another place. But where he started was the political thing at the time that he had to do to, I guess, try to bring everybody together, which it still didn't. But
yeah.
I'm just being a pragmatist about it.
And I'm careful not to interject me too much into it, because I want people to have a conversation. But what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So anyway, that's it.
And that's good. And people don't hear that much about the inauguration. That's why I asked you, was it the Gettysburg Address? Because that's the address from Lincoln that everybody knows, the 407 years ago.
Yes.
So you don't even hear any reference to the inaugural address.
No, you don't. And
now,
I think this is why.
You have 1 minute to talk about your new book. Your new book.
So occurring again. That's occurring is Yoruba for a man, and it starts 3 days after the attack on Fort Sumter, South Carolina. So in the timeline, it's 3 days after A Journey Far ends, and it goes through how long African American men had to wait to fight for the country. 780 days. After the attack on Fort Sumter, did Lincoln finally allow them to enlist in the Army and Navy to fight in the war?
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of history there. And just referring back to something that you said at the beginning, where you and Ronna were referring to about we want to hear more, than just about slaves. You have to also look at it like this. That was a long time period in American history.
It was.
And if you compare it to the Westerns, like nobody says we're tired of books about the cowboys and Westerns and all that. That was a much shorter period of time, but they've made a gazillion stories and movies and books about that, the Old West, and when they were foraging from, whatever they did to discover new lands and build, and when they did the gold rush and all of that in California and built the railroad, that was a relatively short period of time. And
Yeah.
there's been a gazillion books and movies and series, and still making movies and books and series about that
Yes,
period.
you are
So
so
the
right.
slavery period was much longer, 250 years. So there's a lot of stories that can be told about.
And there are a lot of
I
stories that
think
haven't
so.
been told yet.
Yes.
I haven't
Yes.
been told yet. And I would like to think that mine is one of them. And, we'll see. But again, I thank you for your time. I thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to ask you just to continue the great work you two are doing, because it's definitely a service, and we need to have our stories told. I know I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, but we need to have our stories told, and you do a fantastic job of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much. We
you.
appreciate that.
Now
And
tell people
sometimes
where
it's
you
just good
can.
to have that.
It is. It's good to have the encouragement and just reinforcement.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we believe in what we're doing, and we try to keep
There you
it
go.
totally professional all the time. So that's one of the watchwords we have for this show. It will always be professional, and we always will be respectful of our guests.
Right.
So where can people get your books?
On Amazon. They're on Amazon.
Okay.
Again, the Journey Bar, and then my the second one, God's Direction in Your Life, recognizing that's a spiritual journal.
Okay.
And because I am a pastor. I mean, I'm a preacher, so I'll be doing another one of those. But again, I have these two books, A Journey Far and Occurring. Occurring will be on Amazon when it's published, and I have it in paperback, ebook, and audiobook form. And then obviously the God's Direction, that's a journal, will be only in paperback form.
Okay.
And then the QR code goes to my Linktree account, which lists all of my social media sites, my website, that kind of thing.
Okay, so the QR code, you can find everything about AJ Sam, and we really appreciate you being on the show.
But thank you very much for having me.
Okay,
have a great night. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right.
Okay, our next guest is going to be, he has a new book out, and he was scheduled for a different show, but he was unable to be here for that. And so he's on tonight, and I hope he stayed by his computer, like I asked him to do. Okay. Okay, so I'm just checking. It came on. You came in a little slow.
When you are sneaky shady, I'm just gonna say that. Your shade comes when nobody's even thinking about it.
Well, Larry's been on the show before. It's been a little while, and he has a new book. And so we welcome Larry Ukali Johnson Red to Black Authors, or back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hey, Larry.
Okay, you need to unmute so we can hear your voice.
And okay, how are you both doing? And so happy to be back on the program.
Hey, Larry, are you a Cancer?
I'm a Gemini, but I was born
Cancer.
June 18th.
My name is Larry.
I was born June 18th, 1952.
Okay, I'm a Gemini too. I'm a Gemini too.
Okay.
2 days after June 20th, not the same year though, but I was born June 20th.
I'm a Cancer. I'm June 29th.
I see. And I'm an older man, but I'm a survivor,
Okay. Okay. And yeah, me and Rhonda, since our birthdays are close together, we have a birthday show coming up. I think it's the one on the 24th. That'll be, we do it in between our birthdays. So we wear our birthday crown, and this is a birthday show. And so your birthday's coming up, Larry.
Yes.
Soon.
Oh, yes.
Now, a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow, yep.
Okay, so tell us about, now you were on before with your book about a letter to young black men, to young brothers, I think it was.
Yes, that is this book here.
That's your first book, I think. Is that your first book?
Actually, this is my second book. It's called Journey to the Motherland. I wrote
Okay.
another book called The Black Expatriate in Africa, and that was about my teaching experience in Nigeria. But when I got back to the U.S., I figured it out that not even half the people knew what an expatriate was, because
Okay.
America didn't have foreign workers at that time. So that's
Okay.
when I had to go and put the book back into another format called Journey to the Motherland from San Francisco to Benin City. And that was just my second book. And I never knew when I had written my second book that I would end up writing 10 books. I'm really shocked about that.
Okay. So I didn't realize you had 10 books.
Yes, I'm just realizing it myself because, again, whoever thinks that they're going to write 10 books, But I do remember meeting Julian Richardson, who was the original owner of Marcus Books. And he told me, he said, every idea in the world is in a book. Of course, that Marcus Books is no longer in San Francisco where it used to be, but it is still in Oakland. And I think his daughter runs it. But yeah, I remember that book because he told me, he said, every idea in the world is in a book. And so I wrote this book, Journey to the Motherland, to more specifically tie down my experiences in Africa. And I was well received in Africa. And
Okay.
then finally, I started going up to Sacramento, and I met this brother named Terry Moore, and we started doing shows together. And then I wrote this book called Loving Black Women. And of course, I'll never stop loving my Black woman. And it goes all the way back to when I was 12, and I wrote a 26 stanza poem. Some are sweet, some are fine, but I dig them all just the same. I can't remember the whole thing, but I remember that line,
Okay.
And then so finally, when I was here last, we had this book here called Letter to My Young Brother. And it's about school success and how to achieve it. And of course, I did send you the copy so that I could be a part of the festival as far as a book, that could
Children's
win an
Book
award.
Awards. The Children's Book
so
Awards.
I did, and I sent you a copy of the form the same night I sent it. I texted you a picture of it. So this book here has been, very strong book advocating for young Black boys because it was based on the fact that two universities, Harvard and UCLA, had torn up Black destiny for young Black boys like it wasn't even anything that can be considered. But young Black boys do have a future. And I hope that they'll still read this book and practice the techniques in the book, such as downloading the words and definitions for each class you go into so that you know the words and definitions of that class before you get there, much more once you get there. And also then it will help you succeed in class. And also there is a way to how to write an essay, how to write a 3-paragraph essay, how to write a 5-paragraph essay, because you're going to need a 3-paragraph essay in junior high school and a 5-paragraph essay to fully express yourself in high school. So, I was beginning to think, oh, well, I don't know about that. But then the idea came to me that I had been writing a lot of spoken word. And so the idea came to me to put all the spoken word in one book. But then when I typed it up, it was like 300 pages. You can't write a book for 300 pages because that'll tire people out. They can't get through that. So I had to break it up into a book series. And the book series is named Black Self-Love, Spoken Word, and Reparations, Part 1 and Part 2. And they're on Amazon right now as well. I'm going to be going up to Sacramento on June 22nd. To have my first Black book launching at the Underground Bookstore in Sacramento.
Are you located in California?
Pardon me?
Are you located in California?
Yes, I am. In fact, I was born and raised in San Francisco in Lakeview. Actually, I grew up first in Hunters Point in the projects, and then my parents bought a house in Lakeview, so we moved to Lakeview. And when I got ready to go to USF, I haven't moved to Fillmore, and that's where I also joined the Black Liberation Movement. But I lived in Fillmore, and Fillmore was right close to where USF was, and that helped me get through it.
Wow. Well, I've had family. I think they've moved away by now, but I've had family in San Francisco. So I've been
Okay.
to San Francisco quite a few times in my youth.
Yeah, and the thing is that in Lakeview and Fillmore now, both of those communities are cleansed out. In fact, most of the people in Lakeview are, Latinos and Chinese, and most of the people in the Fillmore are white. And most of the black folk are living homeless, And what's shocking to me was when I met this sister in 2010, and she had been living in Lakeview, and now she was on the streets of San Francisco, downtown, with her daughter and granddaughters. So there's been a tragedy in San Francisco with landlords going up. Because I remember when I moved away from the Black Liberation Movement to my own apartment in Fillmore, I was paying $190 for it a month, $195. And that place now is probably $3,000 a month because the landlords went crazy and then just drove the rent up and just made sure they got all the money they could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seemed like there was a movie that referenced the Fillmore.
Yes. Well, the Fillmore is like the Harlem of the West because
Yeah, I'm
jazz
trying to remember
you
what
know.
movie it was. It was a
Yeah.
black film that referenced the Fillmore.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I will always reference the Fillmore because it was a cool place to live when I lived there. And, it was always, a black thing,
Mhm.
And so a lot of people still in Fillmore, but there are a lot of people who have been washed out of Fillmore. So
But you know what?
Fillmore's still there.
If we had a conversation offline and we talk long enough, you probably know some of my family.
Oh, yes, because definitely I helped a lot of families in Lakeview because I helped build the OMI Pilgrim Community Center from the ground up. And I helped raise the money from 1.5 million from the San Francisco area foundations to help. We built the community center and ran it on the first 5 years before our people started knocking heads too much and I had to leave it, But our people always have that challenge. That's why I call it Black self-love, spoken word, and reparations, because from the very day we got off the ship, the man was telling us, you better hate each other and you better love me and go help that field and make my money. And in all of that, we got into a thing where when I was in Lakeview, I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And people were saying, your name is not Larry Black. Your name is Larry Black. Look how black you are. And that part of that self-hatred that we had in the early 60s, before we had to fight for liberation in the late 60s. And so that black love is so needed by our people now because you still have our people calling each other, different kinds of names and insults. And also you have the tension between black folks in different neighborhoods. And so that's why it's so important to put that behind us and put unity in front of us, because if we don't unite, it's going to be hard for us to survive as a people.
Yeah, it is very sad that I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I think it wasn't until probably the 90s on up that we started to appreciate darker skinned people. I'm from New Orleans, and in New Orleans, there was still that color line, where the lighter you are, the prettier you are, the better you were.
If you light, you all right. If you're brown, stick around. If you black, get back. I still remember
exactly. We had the brown paper bag test in New Orleans. If your skin was darker than this brown paper bag, you couldn't go to this church, or you couldn't join this club, or you
couldn't get in the party.
Right.
Yeah. And so,
now, is that still common in New Orleans, Rhonda? Does that still exist? I feel like it does a little bit.
I wouldn't say it's as common as it used to be. There may be some people who still have that belief, but I don't believe it's as common as it used to be.
Yeah, DC used to be like that too.
I believe
the city of Washington, DC.
That's the result of slavery and the way that they preferred us to be workers and making money for them, and they didn't give us any reparations, which is all kind of what this book is about. Because this book in the introduction talks about all the people who helped me in Nigeria, and calls their name and gives them a specific thanks, because there was a brother who rode around in the taxi cab with me to show me all, so that when I did drive, I knew where to go when I was in Benin City. And, it was, very opening, because the Black people in Nigeria, they still have a lot of self-love, but they also have a Black self-love issue. And that's, the issue that we have. And so, like this piece here is called See It Soon. Making martyrs is our doom. May we see it soon. Not just for a tune. Another brother falls as bullets fly zoom, zoom. When we could wear our throne, shooting through a brother's dome. A realization must surely come. Can we realize what has been done? Black death is the ugly tune. Black destiny, may we see it soon. Open our eye, regain our pride. Black folks unite and watch us rise. Can we see a brighter day? Can we sort it out a better way? Self-genocide, fratricide, let Black love help us survive. When eyes are dried, when we find our pride, when we unite, we will thrive. May we open our eyes so we can rise. Shooting each other is our doom. Open our eyes and see it soon. So this is just part of the Black self-love knowledge that I try to spread in all of the poems that I've written over my life. And it has been a long life. I thank God for that. I'm 72. And, I'm happy to be alive and still able to give something to my people.
You're still a baby. My mama older than, she probably don't want me to say that, but you're still a baby.
Yeah.
Now, Larry, how long were you in Nigeria?
I was in Nigeria 4 years. And actually, there's one of my students that moved into Sacramento, and every now and then he gives me a call. But yeah, we had, I had a lot of my students ended up coming to both Britain and the USA. And in 2015, my students flew me to London, and they had their 4th convention of the Augusta Grammar School Old Boys Association. And there they gave me, a warm welcome and thanks for being a good government teacher.
Nice.
Now, what led you to follow that path? What called you to Nigeria?
Well, first of all, I married Chinwe. Chinwe was a Nigerian sister, and she was going to City College when I met her. And so, we kind of worked together, and both graduated from, she graduated from San Francisco State when I graduated from USF. And then we both went to Golden Gate University. And then I got 3 jobs after that. And they held me for 1 year in corporations because they were very racist at the time. So after 1 year, they let me go. So after the 3rd corporate job let me go, I said, okay, Chinwe, let's go to Africa. Let's go to your country. Let's go there. And she said, okay. She said, but if you ever go to Nigeria, you'll never be without a job and you won't be disrespected as a Black man. And those two things came true as I went to Nigeria. And they had a counselor, a Nigerian consulate at that time in San Francisco. And they interviewed me there and interviewed her. And they sent her as an education officer and me as a teacher of government. And it was a very interesting trip. That's why I had to write that first book.
Were you nervous about moving to Nigeria? Because there is a belief here in America that Africans don't like African Americans, and they don't see them as full Black people. So did you have any of those beliefs when you moved there, and were you nervous about moving there, wondering how you'd be accepted?
As a veteran of the Black Liberation Movement, I was definitely confident about going to Nigeria. And my late wife gave me those assurances that everything would be all right. And see, her dad had lived in Madison, Wisconsin. So, I met her dad and mom up in Zaire because I drove from Benin City up to Zaire. But what I did find is they do have Black self-love issues. Not every tribe loves each other as much as they should because they were played against each other by the colonialists. Like in other words, in Nigeria in the north, they had a Muslim government and they just, gave everything to that Muslim emir. And then in the south, they had direct rule and the British were very brutal so brutal that they killed so many men in southern Nigeria that they actually, the women started doing the demonstrating in the 30s. And I had to teach that because it was part of the curriculum of Nigerian government. So definitely, it was there was some still tensions because I still remember they had the Biafra War, and my late wife was from the tribe called Igbos. And then in the north, when I was there, I saw some of the places where Igbos used to live that were shot up. So they do have Black self-love issues over there, but they do have a lot of love for each other. And they have people who have varying views, because Nigeria is a very huge country, 150 million people at least,
Yeah, and I think half of them moved to Houston. We have a very big Nigerian population here.
Yes.
Very big. Yes. I don't know what the number is, but I think it's more Nigerians in Houston than any. I think we either first or second as far as destinations for Nigerian people.
You see, and it's definitely something because now Nigerians are being deported by Trump. So Trump is actually sending plane loads of people from the south. He don't care. He's sending everybody to Abuja, which is in the north, and it's very wicked. But I have this one piece called because Fela was a big musician there, and the people on the street of southern Nigeria really loved him. But he had a very unique upbringing because his people were taken from Nigeria and brought towards America and were stopped. And here it goes. Fella lived. When the ship was full, they put out to sea, headed for the Americas and American slavery. Yet British turned the ship back, and everyone is put down or freed in Sierra Leone, Freetown. Fella's ancestors were in that group. They walked back to Nigeria and founded Abeokuta. Fella, the social activist and opponent of military government, the Africa 70 band made the record Zombie, mocking the military man and the military government. Fella, the politician, ran for the presidency in 1979. The movement of the People's Party was on a radical frequency. Then came Calcutta Republic, and Fella's mom was killed during an assault of the military man. And then came the Egypt 80 band. Fella created Afrobeat. Fella was loved by the man on the street. Fella was a prominent opponent of Nigeria's military government. Fella died at 60, the status quo's enemy, with 27 wives and a radical legacy. So,
27 wives, wow.
Yeah, well, what happened was when the military invaded his house, these were women who were singing in his band or working in other parts of his administration or whatever he had going. And so he just married them all because he didn't want the military to be attacking him anymore. But yeah, that was definitely something. And of course, as a lover of the Black woman, I have this dialogue with a Black woman.
Okay.
And I just want to give that one to you.
Okay.
Dialogue with a Black woman. I want you, I need you too. Naturally Black and proud, so I can shout it out loud about the love I found in you, because you are sweet and lovely too, better than Mountain Dew. With you, I'll never be through. I am for you. And my sister, I love you too. And all I can do is think about the love I have for you. Love, my beautiful Black woman. Come out of my dream. Bring on your beauty and steam. Make me warm all over. Be my lucky leaf clover. Be my lifelong lover. Through the ups and downs, show me you'll always be around. Then I know for sure is your endless love I found. And it's sound. I want you and I need you too. Be Black and proud so I can shout it out loud. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your wife was Nigerian? I understand. I guess.
Yes, she was a Nigerian from the Igbo tribe. And
Right.
but what a lot of African Americans don't realize is that they brought a lot of Igbos to America. And so in 1804, there were a shipload of Igbos. They were escaping from South Carolina because they had taken over the ship before it got here. And rather than go into slavery, they walked back to Africa. That was 1804. And so they never touched the mainland. They walked back to under the water. You know, they had to probably drown, but they figured that was better than slavery. So
Right.
Nigerian
We had
tribes
somebody
have
on the show
roots
that-
in America.
Okay. I think we had somebody on the show that had a book about that.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And
One of those little
recently,
known
like
parts of our
last
history.
few months, about that. I don't know if it was the person. There was a person who her whole book was about shipwrecks of slave ships.
Yes.
And exploration of shipwrecks.
I remember that.
Documenting, remember?
Yeah.
It's something about the water or something. But her name was Tara.
And she mentioned that sometimes shipwrecks aren't what we picture. We picture that it's going to be like basically an entire ship underwater. And sometimes it was very hard to find because there was very few remnants of that ship left.
Yeah, and a lot of it was just artifacts. That was a few months ago when she was on.
Yeah.
This year.
Interesting. And you know, the thing about it is this book brings up the thing about reparations, because actually during the discussion that led to the government of the United States, not a word was said about slavery. The only thing they mentioned was 3/5, that we could only be 3/5 of a man. But reparations is so important because had we gotten our reparations, America would be a whole different place now. And only about 5 to 10% of us got reparations. And that was because some of the Union soldiers slaughtered Black citizens in North Carolina. So a lot of North Carolinians got their 40 acres and a mule. But 90% of us didn't get anything. And then they turned around and gave it to the Japanese. That was Bush. President Bush gave reparations to the Japanese for only being held for 10 years during World War II. But this piece is called Reparations, Part 1. Reparations to all those who died from violence, to all those who suffered in silence, to those still living, to those who are dead, to those of us terrorized, and to those unafraid. Part 2. To those who sat peacefully in Africa, to those stolen in a village raid, to those raped, to those played, to those who suffered on the Middle Passage, to our ancestors who worked and who were never ever paid. Part 3. To those captured and treated like a slave, to those who died in an unmarked grave, to those who suffered down through the years, to those who suffered and those with fears, to those in jail where the system failed, to those of us Africans, America impaled, to those of us they shot dead, to those of us some lost, some found. Part 4, last part. To us Black survivors, we must be paid reparations. Hear what I said? For all the years and white oppression, justice demands reparations, a white concession. So that's definitely in the second book, Part 2. I'll go over that time period where the people were in Philadelphia discussing how you can have a Senate and how to have a House of Representatives, and yet Blacks were enslaved, but never brought on the agenda of the whole constitutional summit. And the only reason they did bring it up after the war was because of the massacres of African Americans throughout parts of the South. So we definitely got to still keep alive our hope for reparations and keep pushing forward and pulling forward. But also, we got to put Black love at the top of the shelf, and we got to show ourselves and our people more Black love and less of this Black on Black, hatred that was used to construct America.
Yes. Absolutely, I agree with that.
And
Now,
so
unfortunately, we're down to about a minute left.
yes.
Can you remind us where can we find your books?
Okay, so my books are all at Amazon, Amazon.com and Amazon.com Kindle. But I also have my own separate website called Larry Ukali Johnson Red Books.com, as well as another website called Larry Ukali Johnson Red.net. So you'll find my books at both of those websites. And I thank you so much for having me here. And also, like I said, I never knew after when I wrote one book that I ended up writing 10, but I'm already there. One of the ones that didn't get mentioned was Long Distance Love, History to Destiny through Afrocentric Poetry. And so, and then also the Obama books. For each term, I wrote a book called American Challenges in the during the Obama administration. So all of those books, all 10, are at Amazon.com, as well as at Larry Ukali Johnson Red Books.com. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Okay,
for
well,
being
Larry,
here.
thank you for being here, and congratulations on continuing writing your book. I did have one question I wanted to ask you. Is Ukali your given name or your adopted name?
Okay, I got Ukali when I joined the Black Liberation Movement of Oba Tashaka, who was in Fillmore at that time. So Larry is my name, Ukali is my name, Johnson Red is my name. But all names are earned, and I love all my names.
Okay,
All
I
right.
was just asking. Okay, so thanks a lot for being, and thanks for giving us some education as well with your poetry and your books.
Thank you so much. And
Okay,
y'all
Thank
have a
you.
nice day.
you
You
too.
too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
All right. Well, I'm glad we were able to work that out for
Yes.
him. So our final guest is Norian Love, and Norian is an award-winning author, screenwriter. He's a songwriter and a poet, and he has lots of stories. He's a two-time award finalist for his
Nice.
book. And I don't know if Norian Love is like his pen name or his real name.
Sound like a pen name.
Since he writes about love, so maybe that's why he wanted to incorporate it with his name. So anyway, Norian Love, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me. Welcome. Thank you for doing this. This is cool.
But thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Now, are you in Houston?
I'm in Houston, H-Town, Pearland.
Okay,
Texas.
Pearland. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because
Oh, y'all are neighbors, kind of.
I have
Wait,
two
wait.
really good friends
You said
that
we're
moved
neighbors?
here too. Pearland?
Did you say we neighbors?
Or you mean
Well,
me? You mean me?
yeah, I was talking about you. I don't live in Houston.
Oh, okay. Well, from where I live, Pearland is like another whole nother country.
That's why I said kind of.
You know
That's why I
how
went like
Houston
this.
is. He's at least he's an hour from me. I
Yeah,
think I've only been to
yeah.
Pearland once because I'm near FM 1960. If you know where that is.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah, look, you're right. That's a plane trip. That's a plane trip. I can go
Yeah,
from
Not a
Hobby.
plane trip.
I can go from Hobby and get her off in Bush and be there probably faster than I could drive to see you, especially now. You know?
Well,
especially now.
my nephew lives in Katy. How close are you to Katy?
Katie's
Oh,
nowhere
see,
near either one of us.
it's just a west. It's like if they had an airport there, it'd be the same flight. I just have to take a different flight. It's the same flight. Yeah.
Katie's nowhere near either one of us. That's how big
Wow.
We both will have to fly. That's two different flights. She comes from Bush, I'm coming from Hobby. We meet in Katy. You know that's
I love it.
Yeah, Katie is far west.
Yeah, Katy.
And
Me as well.
he's southeast, I think, where he is. Southeast, southeast is south.
No, it's far west for me too, because I'm south.
You're
So I
south.
would have to go southwest to get to Katy.
Okay. So
And so but
I'm
you would just be coming from the
northwest.
north. I'll be coming from south.
Right.
That's
I'm
how far. Yeah,
northwest, but I'm still not near Katy. I'm nowhere near
yeah,
Katy.
yeah.
Well,
Me and
I'll
you
That's
are
why
say
when
straight north.
Rhonda came to Houston and she was in Katy, I said, "Oh well, I won't get to see her this time."
well, I'll just say this: catch your flight and come see us at the National Black Book Festival in October.
I will book my ticket because no, I will tell you this. I had to redo a little bit of research, and this is what's fascinating about Houston, why it's so big. Because y'all on the whole other side, I've never even seen. I've been here the majority of my life. That's a cheat code hidden part of the city.
Wow.
And I'm a student of the city. I've caught the bus everywhere in the city growing up. You know, and when I saw where you were, I was like, I don't even understand where that is.
Yeah, because
Like
there
I've
is
never.
no bus. There's no bus.
Where are we? And that's what's so cool about this city. Like you would just you'd be like, I never knew this existed. It's that big. You know?
Houston
Wow.
is like that. There are parts of Houston, and I've been here a long time. I'm not from here, but
Well,
there are
I
many
just have
parts of
one.
Houston I've never seen. It's
I
You'd
just
be
have
like,
one
different.
what?
question though. Has the turkey
Mhm.
leg hut opened yet?
I
Now,
don't
see,
think
I
they're
thought you
gonna
was gonna go
open
tell me
back
about
up.
your stone. Like, I don't know if they. I don't look.
I don't think they're
Look.
gonna open back up. They had a
You know,
dispute. They had a husband-wife dispute, and then they got a divorce, I think. And then he opened another restaurant called the Shrimp Hut or the Lobster Hut or
see, and she knew what she was doing. She knew all that. She was trying to troll. She knew
he
all of
just
that. She
called
knew
her
all
a
of that.
name. So I don't think so.
She knew all of that. That's why she laughed so hard. She knew. She was trying to troll. I'm glad you felt that trap. I didn't have to fall into it. Yeah, see, sometimes.
I figured
See.
she knew because she asked me about the turkey hut, the last turkey leg hut
Mhm,
Well, I
last time she
always
was here.
ask because I went there one year, like a couple years ago, and I enjoyed my little turkey leg, and I wanted another turkey leg, and then I found out they were gone. In fact, everything I wanted to visit in Houston was gone. The turkey leg hut was gone. The winery was gone. The winery in Katy was gone. The black bookstore in Katy was gone. I didn't have anywhere to go last year.
Yeah, and that was a nice bookstore. The one,
Yeah.
one that
it
opened in
was
Katy. What was it? Brown Sugar.
brown sugar. Yeah, we
It
did
was
an event there.
very nice.
We had a good time. I'll tell you guys, this was fun. We did I do so the poetry part of it, right? I used to host this show right after the pandemic called Snaps, which was kind of like it was SNAPZ, like verses. So it was like
Yeah.
poetry verses, right? And so we would just get on and we would vibe. We were in the pandemic. And so when we came out of the pandemic, they wanted to do something live. And we did that brown sugar. And when I tell you that was an epic night, I just seeing all the people just showing up and showing out for poetry and just everyone was just excited to kind of get out the house again, right? So it was like
Yeah.
but I mean, we had four phenomenal poets to like a sold out audience. It was just a good time. But yeah, so shouts out to them. They were a good. That was a good time in the city for sure. They were a
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
Well,
She
tell
had
us
a
about
nice
you.
place.
Yeah, what am I saying? We're talking all this Houston stuff, but tell us about you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell us about you and your book.
Oh yeah, I guess. Which books we talking about? We
Then
were just having
your
so much
late. Let's
Houston stuff.
go.
We were
Let's
like
start with
turkey
your
leg
latest
What
book.
book do you want to tell us about?
Um, well, I'll give you my spill real quick. I mean, because
Okay.
there's a couple of dynamics here. So, um, obviously we talked about the poetry, so that's kind of how I got into writing. I will always be a poet at heart. I've always been enamored with the idea of love, and I don't know where that came from. It's just what it's been, you know. But from there, I started writing romance novels, and so Money, Power, and Sex was my first novel, which was based off of um, the majority of creativity, but placed in, since y'all from Houston, I used to work for a company called Enron, so there was a little bit of the corporate
Excuse me.
setting dynamics.
Excuse me. I'm from New Orleans and I live
No,
in
I'm
DC.
sorry. I'm sorry. And
But carry on, carry on.
as we were saying that, yeah, okay, yeah. So I was in the flow too. So, but it's okay. Uh, but yeah, so it's about the so there's a little bit of corporate stuff, and then that just kind of they call that the rabbit hole, and and there's a lot that you're going to find out on the rabbit hole because there's just a lot of stuff going on. But then I decided to go into a little bit of a more, if you could call it, softer romance with the seasons of love. And so right now I have autumn and winter out. And what makes these two particular stories unique is they have original music written and composed by me and then sung by other people. I can't sing to save my life, but like we put it together so we had a really fascinating experience to bring the world together. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So how does a person uh, experience your book with the music? Is it that they have to get the audio book? Is that what it is?
No, actually, like I said, it's you go to any streamer and you type in Norian Love the book, and the book will give you the instructions on how to do this, right? But if you don't, if you just want to, if you're casual, just listen to R&B, because what I'll tell you is that we got some we got some really talented people to make some really incredible songs. I was able to lend my hand, and if you read Autumn, you'll understand there's a deeper layer to all of it, honestly. But yeah, I was able to, lend my layer as far as songwriting, maybe, made the beat together. But like the people who sing, the people who sang these songs, kudos to them, man, because we pushed creativity, and I think that's what was so cool about it. So go to any one of your digital streaming platforms, type in Norian Love, type in if you get there, you're gonna get two soundtracks. It's gonna be Autumn and Winter, and they're theme based. So obviously, Autumn has a sound and a vibe to it. Winter's pretty much a Christmas album. So but with some other stuff in there. So you gotta, so the mood will help you set. And we just tried to be creative.
Is it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon,
Okay.
anywhere they sell music.
And we can
We
just
got
look for Norian Love on any of those
Norian
platforms.
Love and just type in, and I mean, and I'll tell you a couple. So my personal favorites right now, the stuff that we got coming, that's my favorites because like when you do these things, right? You don't know at first. You're just trying it, so and then you get a little bit more comfortable, and then and so this is like where I like to say where your roux got settled. So spring is where I'm at right now. The roux is ruined right now, so I'm like, okay, we really, but all that to say, if you check out the growth between autumn and winter on any one of these, I think that they're both extremely heartfelt. They're really good classic throwback. I grew up in the 90s, so I'm like a 90s R&B baby, so it's just that kind of vibe, all of it, all the way through. And then I'm a student of music, so like, I pull inspiration from a lot of the people that I kind of grew up listening to. And then if you ever read any of my books, you're gonna read something about a musical journey because that's my baby. You know what I mean? And so this is just a way to blend the world. So yeah, go to any digital streamer, you type it in. I'll give you my personal favorites real quick. There's a song called Everything, Heaven, and Bedroom Details. That's off of Autumn. And then off of Winter, there's Destiny, Please Don't Look Back, Until the End. Or the end of, it's actually called the end of winter. No, it's called Spring is Coming, I think. I can't remember. But the last song on that one. That's my favorite. And so yeah, it's just it's a good time. It's a good time.
Okay, somebody says so it's not an audiobook, but a soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a complete entirely. It actually the songs are written again. They're written by me. They're produced by me, but they're written in direction for the book. You mean so when you're reading the book, like I write to music. So with these particular books, like if you look at some of my playlists, you'll see my musical taste. But like with these particular books, they wouldn't come out without me doing something else. So then that's kind of how I didn't know anything about music. So like what you're really seeing in this is me learning everything I could about music and applying it. You mean, and so that's what you're really seeing. And so it's all just growth and just understanding. Like, but I had to be able to get it had to sound like it sounded in my head. You know what I mean?
Right,
And so that's
right.
what you're seeing every single time. It's like, and I'm a critic too. There's a song like, I don't like that one. You know now, but it's like, but every single one of them, it was like just an evolution. So I hope you guys, but what's cool in the cohesion is they fit. Whether I objectively looking at the music, however I feel about it, I'm my harshest critic. But the cohesion of the music with the book is yeah, do that.
Okay, now I'm a music aficionado, so I don't play anything, but I know music. But I like certain. No, seriously, I like certain kind. I like old
Come on.
school music because it's real music. So
Mm-hmm.
I preface my question with that. So is there instrumentation on your soundtrack? Or is it just all computer generated? And if it is just a computer, I've heard some, if the vocals are good, then I can live with the computer. But if it's just like average vocals and all computerized, then no. So I just want to know before I'm gonna check it out, but I want to know beforehand so I can know what to expect. So why you going like that?
Come on now, we're from Texas. Like you think we don't have step over. I don't have step.
You know how some stuff is.
We
You
don't
know
have step.
No,
how
see, y'all
some of
don't
this
do that. We from
music
Texas stuff
is.
because
I'm not
said
from Texas.
Beyonce is a country singer just because she's from Houston.
Well, no. See, hold on. See. First of all, that will give you trouble. Second of all, second of all, second of all, look. All I'm saying is, I can just speak for me. Everything I do, like I figure it out, and then I get it, because I don't want to shortchange anybody. So yeah, to answer your question, no, I hope you're impressed. I hope you can at least appreciate the true work. Like if you listen to Bedroom Details and come back to me and ask that question, that particular song, just like what was done with the horns, everything that happened.
I like that.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Well, you said horns, so that's some instruments. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful now. There's hope. So, because what I don't, and I can appreciate beats if it's more to it than just beats. It has to have some good vocals. And what I don't appreciate is being cussed at on the song, which is why I don't listen to rap because it's too much cuss. It's just
Well, see,
I can't.
consider
But
myself.
Rhonda likes it. Rhonda likes some of it.
No, whoa.
You told me you did.
I
You
like
told
some.
me you
No,
did.
I do like some rap, but I don't like being cussed at on a song
Oh,
either. But I'm a
okay.
bit of a music aficionado myself. In fact, today while I was at work, I was listening to a group that y'all probably haven't even thought of, Alabama Shakes. That is some music. Y'all need to look that up.
Okay, now what kind of music is it?
Well, the way I would describe it is it's like soulful country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alabama Shakes.
I'm gonna
Okay.
give you one
Alabama
since we're
Shakes.
along that
I'm gonna
line.
write it down.
I'm gonna give you one since we're along that lines. It's not country, but it's very soulful. I would call it a modern soulful. This is gonna sound like this will make more sense when you hear her. Acid rock.
Okay.
You
I
mean
can appreciate some rock because you know why?
right,
It's a
right.
band there.
Yeah, but this
They
is
have a
acid
band.
rock. Acid rock is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Lady
name a couple
Blackbird.
of groups. Name a
If you
couple of
listen to Lady Blackbird, you're gonna hear this
Okay.
woman's her voice. Her voice is angelic. It's it's a painful Aretha Franklin. Is the best way I can put it. Like a pain, like you know what I mean?
Okay,
If
a
she's
painful Aretha Franklin.
yeah, that's what it is, man. I mean, the power that she has and the raspiness that comes with it, you could just tell that like she can do more, but this is enough because we can't deal with this. You know what I mean? And so I love that about I love the way that music makes us feel. You know what I mean? I love the way that books makes us feel. So this is a marriage, you know, and so
I
that's
like
kind of
that.
what I'm trying to do. Is like try to really get to the root of the emotion because I think that like, you know, sometimes you know what's so beautiful about a book is that you'll read it and then you want to live in the world after it. And one thing that I find about songs is that you can always live in that moment that you had when you heard that song for the first time. So
Mhm.
what I call the marriage is kind of like the if you had this and this was going on, maybe you can kind of keep that world with you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Now we've been talking a lot about music, but
I know.
we haven't talked about the books.
It sounds
Right.
like it's a marriage.
Well,
It
they
is
are
a bit of
married,
a
but
marriage.
then we can go down the rabbit
Together.
hole, which is a different vibe. Because you're right, money, power, and sex is they call me the plot twist king because you if you want twist, turn, suspense, what happens next, um, this book is full of that, you know. And so we try to like it's this series, and I'm only just telling you what people say. I don't want to. It sounds, but we're talking, so I have to say it because we're talking to new people specifically. Um, it's they've called it Power Beats Game of Thrones, and I did like that analogy just because of the what I really try to hang my hat on as a writer is the work of building the character. I do want these characters to stay with you. You know, I do. I
Okay.
want them to be relatable people. Like even if I'm not this person, even if I don't like this person, I can understand their motives. And so that's kind of what I hang my hat on with that. And so hearing those kind of compliments really like I mean I'm humbled by it because like man you ain't have to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like and you chose those words for this. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that one day because man it made me feel good. So here we are.
Now, when did Money, Power, Sex come out? I feel
Man,
like I remember that book.
yeah,
I feel like it was
definitely
out when we had the bookstore.
maybe
I think
so. I mean, I don't know when did you at the bookstore? It's been a minute.
two, 2000 to 2010.
No, it was after that.
It
It
was
was
after
after that. It was
that.
after that.
Okay. But
It was
I
after that.
feel like I've heard of the book though.
Yeah, well, like it, they like
Hmm.
it's one of those books that when people read it, you know, I'm gonna hear from them. You know what I'm saying? And I check all my DMs stay open stuff. So I hear from them. So I enjoy that because it just tells me that like man, you were on to something with this and just keep going. And so yeah, you know, have a good time with it. But I love the fact I love talking to Reeds about it because I love to hear their conspiracy theories about where it's going next and what's happening. And you know,
What do you
So,
say? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
well,
Gwen.
I was gonna say what made you pick love as your kind of lane? Like,
I think see going back to the original part of this, I think it chose me. You know, I don't think I chose it. I think that the poetry was always there. I was telling someone like in another interview not that long ago, like I remember the first poem I wrote, I was in sixth grade. And this is just always, and then as you go through this journey, you start seeing things, right? And he was like, "Oh man, you used to always have your notebook," or "Oh man, you know," and so it was just there, you know. And so, you know, it's one of those statements where God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. You know, you just gotta just show up for the thing that's in you.
That's
So that's what I'm doing.
that's a very poignant statement
mhm.
because if you look at everybody he's called, they did not feel qualified. And if you really look at it, they weren't qualified, but he qualified them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I spent 20 years in analytics before I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? I like literally, this was not anyone that knew me in the previous life knew me with computers and technology. It was such a left brain living. So to do any of this, I wouldn't have been able to script it, you know.
Yeah, we have guests on the show, especially like this year, that are tech, have a tech background, but then they started writing stories.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
we've had several
Really?
like that. This year, in the past too, but seems like more this year. Now, you said you had a career or a job or whatever at Enron. I have an Enron story, but I won't tell it on this show.
We all got an Enron story, man. I gotta say that. We all got an Enron story. If you're from Houston, you got an Enron story. But I love
Yeah.
it.
I never worked there, but I do have an Enron connection story. It wasn't positive. It started off positive, but
You
it
took the
didn't.
words out my mouth. It wasn't going to end well. I knew. If I knew anything else about the story, I knew it wasn't going to end well. I knew that. I knew that. You took the word. You beat me to it.
And it was around the time, like a year before the collapse.
Yeah.
So and that was, a lot of people. Enron used to be the Houston company. They used to be the in Houston. And
I grew up there, so it's weird because I always had a different relationship with it because I was in my teens when I started working there, and then like I was working in technology, so it wasn't even like it was a great job. For my age, well, it was a great job for any age, honestly. But for that age, I had more money than I knew what to do with at 18.
Nice.
And so it's like,
yeah, they pay very well. But as it turned, in the end, it disappeared. Like it wasn't real money. I guess that's a whole. That's a whole. But the way it happened was so fast. Like the end was like in like days. It was like immediate.
See, here's the thing about that, and I don't want to dwell too long on this because it still things out there. But look, here's the thing about that. When you were internal, it was almost 9 months of this. You mean like truth be told, you almost saw it a year in advance. When you look back in hindsight, you're like, oh. That's why that happened, but we all knew every week, hey, what's this? Hey, what's going on here? We knew something was up. We just didn't know
what it was.
And so and those signs, I could easily say, you talk to anybody from those times, they probably started a year in advance.
Yeah. Well, that's
nobody wants to go to jail.
Yeah, when somebody told me that worked there that they were selling the weather. They were like selling bets on the weather almost. Selling shorts on the weather. Like, how can you do that when you can't predict the weather? So that didn't make sense to me when somebody told me that was a year before it happened. But anyway, that you brought up Enron and then it just brought it back to my mind. But anyway, Norian, if we're at the end of our show, I want to make sure people know how to find your music and your books. So
I am. This is what we're gonna do. Like my website, everything's my name. So Norianlove.com is my website. If you can go there, we have some dope stuff. I'd love to work with you directly. We try to offer a world-class experience as far as getting your books. So that's a big part of the experience on that. Social media, any platform, Norian Love. I'm trying to build that TikTok, so go over there. We'll have content pretty soon because you either write or create reels where you're doing this all day. And I just tell the story. I don't know, but and then for the music or anything, everything's Norian Love. So just follow, like, share, all the stuff that helps build in the algorithm. That just do that. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. This was a really fun interview.
And we're definitely going to check you out. I'm going to check out your music, and I'm going to DM you whether I like it or don't like it or neutral. I'm going to DM you.
I hope to hear from both of you, because I am my harshest critic, and criticism doesn't bother me. I love feedback. So please.
Well, you're going to hear from me tonight, because I'm about to follow you on your platforms.
Yeah.
Hit me as soon as I'm on my phone right now, but as soon as I get off the phone, I'm going to follow you back. We'll be in the DMs. I'm like, see, I told you, this is what I was trying to tell you, but you know, and so we can do that. We have fun.
Okay. All right, then. Have a great night, Norian.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's the end of another amazing show. We'll be back next Tuesday on Black Authors Matter TV with another incredible lineup. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.